Legal voters of the town of Dorset, county of Bennington, state of Vermont, are hereby warned and notified to meet at the Dorset School, 130 School Drive, Dorset, Vermont, on Monday, March 2nd, 2026, at 7 p.m. to transact any business not involving a vote by Australian ballot. And on Tuesday, March 3rd, 2026, at 7 a.m., starting at 7 a.m., to transact voting by Australian ballot as required by law. Australian ballot voting will take place at the Dorset Town Office, not here, 200 Raptor Lane, Dorset, Vermont. Polls will be open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Articles 2 and 4 will be voted by Australian ballot. Okay. My name is Kevin O'Toole. I'm your moderator for this evening. And just a couple of little logistics, but let's start off with something that we've done for a period of years. Let's all just stand, face the flag, and do the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So, number one, I thank you all for coming to exercise your franchise and air your views. Just a couple little things. We try to, even if we disagree, we try not to be disagreeable. This is an invitation for civil discourse. So, even though you think your voice might carry like crazy, we have GNAT TV here, and they would appreciate if you use the microphone. And when you come up to speak, you know, I might know you, for years, but everyone else does not. So please just, say your name and clearly before you speak. And use the microphone. We're going to address all remarks toward the chair, okay, and not toward each other. And then we don't go in a back and forth. I remember years ago, a man named Carl Oakman, he's no longer with us, but now he's got a street named after him. He went on and on about something, and no one could hear a word he said. And so it might have had a ton of merit, but it didn't really matter. So, that being said, Article 1 is to hear and accept the reports of the town officers and take proper action on same. Would anybody like to make that motion? Chris Brooks. And a second. Chad Smith. Charles Smith III. Now, I think we'll open up with one of those reports from our town manager, Rob Giotti, who is from Danby. Is there any objection to Rob? He was originally from Danby. There's a lot of Giottis in Danby. Never mind. He's in East Dorset now.
Kevin actually represented me when I bought Alan's house 6 years ago. I have family in Danby, but I was kind of born and raised in Sunderland and Manchester. With that curveball, we'll jump into, on the seats, there's kind of an 8-page presentation. It's meant to be a summary of the budget for the next year. A little bit of the highlights of some of the items that the budget covers, and then some of the other things that we've been working on vis-a-vis housing and afterland. So the budget itself is about a little under 3.5 million total expenses. That represents about a 7% increase from fiscal year 26. To really simplify it in dollars, it's about a $254,000 increase. The share of that, the largest portion of that, excuse me, $254,000 additional dollars is from the highway department, and that's representative of some projects that I'll talk about in just a second. 17% related to wages and general services, 16% for increases in public safety, 14% insurance, which is both healthcare insurance for employees, and then property casualty insurance for the town. And then rounding it out, it's an 8% portion is related to the assessing department. And there's bullet points underneath that elaborate more than that. The next page is forecasting potential tax rates for next year based on the budget that we have included for you all to be voting on tomorrow. I've given the last year's tax rate information, which was about 22 cents per hundred. This year we're thinking it's going to be around 23.79 per hundred, and that's an estimate. It assumes a little bit of grand list growth, but we're also in kind of year 2 of new values, so we do expect some grievances, so the values will move back and forth a little bit. That increase represents about an $84 annual increase on a house valued at $500,000. And just kind of for reference, as a benchmark, I've included tax rates for other communities, which you can see there. Next page talks about some of the capital improvements that have been ongoing in Dorset the last handful of years. The first one to talk about is the Dorset Village water system set of improvements that have been going on this summer. Casella Construction is going to be doing what's called Contract 3 work, which includes service line work from the corporations at the main to the curb stop, which is the section in Route 30. And they're doing this because the first 2 contracts actually came in a little bit under budget, and we were able to shoehorn additional scope into the funding schematic that we have. The money that we're actually still spending is 4 or 5 years old. So it's been very good, very favorable. It's a 0% interest loan. In total, when this work is done this summer, the fire district in Dorset is going to have spent about $5.2 million, and the water users will owe about $1.8 million, which is a great deal for the water users. It's allowed more work to get done in a shorter period of time. In the notes here, it talks about some of the work is starting to bear fruit in that the water use waste and leaks has hit a 10-year low. And we say 10-year low, that's really, we've only been able to track it for the last 10 years because that's when the modern metering station went in for the system. And what's happened now is that the district and the system is on the cusp of the state lifting what's called a moratorium on new allocation. Just means that if you had a bedroom that you wanted to add to a property, you potentially might be able to do that soon. That problem itself has been called a couple different things over the years, but it's been in existence since like 1984. So a big credit is due to the Prudential Committee, which includes Ben Weiss, Roger Squire, Lee Fox, Cindy Loudenslager, and John Ames for all the hard work that they've been doing to try to make sure that they are able to stretch every water user dollar as far as possible to get as much done for the users in the village. As far as highway projects, it's all kind of pretty self-explanatory, but we've got a bridge that's going to have pretty major work done on it on Lower Hollow Road. Going to be a paving resurface of Danby Mountain Road, paving Raptor Lane up to the town office. Also some other items there related to potential overflow parking, planning for overflow parking and lights. And then we've got a little bit of planning money related to Prentice Pond Dam, which anybody that knows the Prentice Pond on Church Street, the pond is there because there's a man-made dam that's there. And the way that the state of Vermont is regulating and looking at dams has changed a little bit in the last few years. So we're just trying to position the town to be in the best kind of footing to be ready for a project if it either gets pushed or if it becomes favorable funding that's available. Let's see. Highlights here for the town office. Everybody probably knows, or if you haven't visited, you probably will soon. We moved into a brand new office building Labor Day 2025. The $3.2 million construction budget was conformed to, which is many thanks to Naylor and Breen and McClay and the team for helping through that. The building itself, as far as I can tell, it's certainly the most efficient municipal building that was built last year. and it's right on the edge of being the most efficient commercial building that was built in Vermont in 2025. In our case, we opted not to pay for there's Passive House and LEED certification that you have a guru come in and tell you that you need it, and then you can put a plaque on the wall. That plaque costs like $50,000. So we actually opted to get a different vendor to just do the work to prove that we have, on paper, we can show the blower door test at the end of the day meets those standards, which is great. It's a beautiful building. If you haven't been in there, come visit. It's been great for staff. It's a great place to work, and we think that it really represents the town in a positive light. It's going to be a building that's going to be utilized by the community for a really long time. The former office site in East Dorset, the building itself has been demolished at this point. Once the snow goes and the frost is out of the ground, we're going to be able to remove the parking lot, get grass growing, and then there's a little subcommittee of East Dorset Village residents that are helping us vision what's going to go on there. It's going to be green space, the potential for a pavilion and some other improvements to the property there that will benefit people over there. And this is an extension of the recent efforts made towards improvements on Mad Tom Road and Route 7 with that intersection and making it safer for pedestrians and vehicles, as well as other folks know, the efforts to try to slow vehicle speeds in the villages. So the next slide, I'm not going to talk about a lot. I will point out that it is in color. Those of us that can see it, it's a little dark in here, but the white text is, it's the exact slide that I presented last year. That's the exact verbiage, the same language. The updates are in the yellow. So the updates to the slide is, and the slide itself is talking about the Housing Committee, kind of where the 2023 vote that the town had to move forward with creating one, some of the work that the Housing Committee did, and then the updates are in yellow. So the town is currently engaging the public around the unit count and potential type of units at Raptor Lane in an effort to create an updated concept design that voters can weigh in on, possibly in November. So it's we've had 2 meetings in January and February to kind of get input and react to some of the early concepts, and it's a continuous process, I guess is what I'm saying. Another footnote is that the zoning bylaw, Raptor Lane is an 8-lot subdivision. When that goes to get kind of re-subdivided, it has to go through planned unit development review, which is part of the requirement for the zoning in that zone. And then it's embedded in that review there's a process where 70% of the project area would be open, and 30% would be the portion that gets developed. And then the last footnote here is the town worked through an RFP process in 2025, and that's been put on hold after input about the proposed unit count. The next slide just talks about the January and February meetings. Where input was solicited, as well as the town trying to better understand the dynamics around demographics and need and all that stuff. One of the things that's pending before us is a housing study and market analysis that's going to help talk about things like demand and what the market can actually support. And then the last page, it's a little harder to see, but it gives the first bullet point is probably a little bit of underline there. That we're just pointing out that any housing project that may or may not happen is going to need the infrastructure and has to be designed and permitted. So there's no design, there's no permitting that's happened yet. And it's estimated that process itself is a 2 to 3 year process. And as part of the feasibility study that Enman and Kesselring did in 2024, there's up to 12 permits that are needed for that type of a project. And the market analysis and public input are going to be the things that help to kind of shape it. The rest of the page shows an accounting of money spent over the last 6+ years related to Raptor Lane, environmental engineering review, as to kind of what the property is, what it can support, and then kind of working towards the housing discussion. And that's pretty much all I have. And I think we can take questions on the report.
So as Rob said, this is the opportunity. If you had any questions about what he just addressed, this is to hear and discuss the reports. One little caveat, at some point tonight, our representative, Sandy Pincinel, is going to come along. And if that happens, she has a couple of towns to go to, so I might interrupt and suspend the rules to let her speak. She's not here yet. She's probably in Peru or Gambia or Mount Tabor, one of those places. Okay? Does anybody have anything they wish to comment or anything on what you've just heard? Okay. Hearing none, then we were to hear and accept the reports. Is there a motion to accept the reports? Yeah. Roger Squire and David McInerney. How do you, David, your last name is M-C-E-N-E-R? No. M-C... Did you get that, Jen? Okay, that's strike 2 tonight against it. Okay, then all in favor signify your approval by saying aye. Aye. And disapproval by saying nay. Okay, we accept the reports. Article 2 is to elect the town officers for the ensuing year to be voted by Australian ballot tomorrow. And one is the moderator for a one-year term, that would be me. If anybody cares to vote against, run against me. And the select board member for the 3-year term, who is running? Frank Parent. Stand up, Frank. All right. And then there are 2 positions for 1-year terms, and there are 4 people running against that. So I saw Carter Rawson, stand up, Carter, and Chris Brooks, and Henry Chandler and Jim Salsbury. So they're not supposed to politic tonight, but you can see what they look like, and I'm sure they'll answer any questions you have to have after the meeting. Okay? So that's tomorrow morning at 7. Okay. Article 3. Shall the voters authorize the collection of property taxes in 2 installments in September 8, 2026 and on March 9, 2027. Payment not received will be subject to 1% interest on September 11, 2026 and 1% interest and 8% penalty on March 12, 2027. Is there a motion in favor of that? Marilyn Kinney, and seconded by John Human. Is there any discussion? We're all paying our taxes. Okay, I don't think I have to repeat that. It was just so recently. All those in favor of Article 3 signify your approval by saying aye. Aye. And your disapproval by saying nay. The ayes have it. Article 3 is passed. Article 4. Shall the voters approve total highway and general fund expenditures of $3,475,177, of which $3,114,327 shall be raised by taxes and $360,850 by non-tax revenues. Is there a motion in favor of that?
That's an Australian.
Oh, that's number 4. We don't need that. Great. Is there any discussion about that article? Yes.
What are non-tax revenues?
Anything that's not property taxes.
So for GNAT, anything that's not property taxes. So would that be grants and things like that?
In the budget, there's a section on those revenues.
Okay. So why don't Rob just answer this more for the television?
Page 67. Page 67. So anything that's not property tax revenue, so it's federal aid to highways that comes through the state, vital records that comes through the town clerk's office, contracts, short-term rental, registration revenue, and then in our case, you can see not this year or last year, but a couple years ago, some grants to the FEMA in the state of Vermont.
I just realized I was remiss. You've already met Jim Salzgiver and Henry Chandler and Frank Parent, but at the end is an incumbent select person, Allison Clark, and this is Megan Turn, the chair of the board. So I forgot to say. Article 5. Shall the voters appropriate the sum of $30,000 for the VNA, Vermont Nursing Association, and Hospice of the Southwest Region, formerly known as Dorset Nursing Association, for support of its services provided to Dorset residents. Is there a motion in favor of this? David, are you making a motion in favor of this?
I'm going to make a motion.
David Sands is making a motion. Is there a second to this motion?
I'll second.
Okay, Chris Brooks. And your name, sir?
David Sands.
Speak a little closer to the mic. Can you all say something?
David Sands.
You can all hear him?
I just wanted to say thank you to Dorset for contributing to our success over the years. We have provided over 1,700 home visits just in Dorset this last year. What people don't realize, at least I didn't for sure, is that we are a nonprofit. We lose money operationally every year. We make it up with donations and town support. But we also donate ourselves. We donate over $2 million worth of services within the state region that we service. So we appreciate your support, and we will continue to do our best to take care of all of our people in town who need our services.
Thank you, David. Is there any further discussion on this article? I will repeat it. Shall the voters appropriate the sum of $30,000 for the VNA and Hospice of the Southwest Region, formerly known as Dorset Nursing Association, for support of its services provided to Dorset residents? All in favor of Article 5, signify your approval by saying aye. Aye. And your disapproval by saying nay. The ayes have it. Article 5 is passed. Article 6. Shall the voters appropriate the sum of $20,000 to the Dorset Players, Inc. to help sustain the Playhouse Preservation and Maintenance Fund for the ongoing repairs to the Dorset Playhouse? Is there a motion in favor of Article 6? Elizabeth Corrett and Gay Squire. Didn't mean to besmirch you, she was just... Okay. Is there someone here to speak for the Playhouse?
Good evening. Loud enough, Kevin?
Mm-hmm.
Great. Hi, my name is Darrell Lang. I'm a resident of Dorset. I'm the vice president of the board of the Dorset Players and chair of our buildings committee. And on behalf of our board, our members, and all the users who use the Dorset Playhouse, we thank you for your previous and continued support of this amazing cultural resource that we as a very small community have. We run programming 12 months a year. Dorset Players runs September through May as your community theater. We are almost 100%. We have one part-time staff person. Otherwise, it's 100% volunteers. So if anyone was at the Playhouse last weekend, everyone, including Kevin, is involved, is donating their time, services, and expertise. During the summer, we ran to the Dorset Theater Festival, and on behalf of the Dorset Theater Festival as well, thank you for your support. We use all of the funds from the town of Dorset for capital improvement projects. We are very proud of the work we do to maintain the building and keep it to an extremely high level and high standard. Last year's funds went towards the replacement of our boiler, and this year we're dealing with some issues with our HVAC system, so that's what we intend to use the money for. So thank you again for your support.
Is there any other discussion on this article? Okay, shall the voters appropriate the sum of $20,000 to the Dorset Players, Inc. to help sustain the Playhouse Preservation and Maintenance Fund for the ongoing repairs to the Dorset Playhouse. Signify your approval of this article by saying aye. Aye. And your disapproval by saying nay. The ayes have it. Article 6 is passed. Article 7. Shall the voters appropriate the sum of $30,000 to the Dorset Village Library for support of its services provided to Dorset residents? Is there a motion in favor of Article 7? Kit Wallace and Alicia Bambera. I didn't know if you changed. Discussion? The gentleman over here. Now, this gentleman is from Granville, New York. And so under Robert's Rules of Order, I'm supposed to get 2/3 of, we are supposed to approve somebody not from these parts to speak. Is there any objection to him speaking? Hearing none, state your name and go forth.
Stephen Niles, and I am the Assistant Director at the library. And as most of you probably noticed, that we did ask for an increase in our appropriations. The first increase that we've asked for since 2013. This past year we had 330 programs happening. We saw an increase of 15% in patrons in our library. We saw a 200% increase in our digital borrowing system. So, you know, we're just grateful for your continued support. We are looking into grants to help offset the increase in costs. We did suffer a loss of our bookseller, who's been in business for almost 200 years. They went out of business, so we've had to refine an entirely new book purchasing system to go with. But yeah, we just wanted to say thank you and hope everything goes through.
Is there any further discussion on this article? Okay. Shall the voters appropriate the sum of $30,000 to the Dorset Village Library for support of its services provided to Dorset residents? All those in favor of Article 7 signify your approval by saying aye. Aye. Your disapproval by saying nay. The ayes have it. Article 7 is passed. Okay. Article 8. Shall the voters appropriate the sum of $17,400 to the Dorset Marble Preservation Association for the purpose of restoring Dorset's marble sidewalks? Is there a motion in favor of Article 8? Willie Ferrone, and then seconded by David Sands. And I'm assuming Roger Squire is going to speak to this article in his dulcet tones.
I'm a little surprised that this article is on the ballot, since I didn't submit a petition for it. So it's I'm incredibly grateful to the select board or any other organization that put this request on the ballot. Personally, I think maintaining and improving Dorset's historic marble sidewalks is a great way to continue a wonderful tradition that Dorset has. And I would be grateful for the continued support of the voters of Dorset. Thank you.
Mary, were you going to say something, or were you just doing this? Oh, okay. Is there any further discussion on this article? Okay. Article 8, shall the voters appropriate the sum of $17,400 to the Dorset Marble Preservation Association for the purpose of restoring Dorset's marble sidewalks? All those in favor of Article 8 indicate your approval by saying aye. Aye. And your disapproval by saying nay. The ayes have it. Article 8 is passed. I've always wondered about the ethics because I shovel our sidewalk and it's to my office, but then there's this whole stretch where it's just a general sidewalk. And because the guy next door does it, it's like meeting the Continental Railroad. We keep it open all winter long. Article 9. Shall the voters appropriate the sum of $10,000 to the Maple Hill Cemetery to help in the build of a new equipment building on the grounds of the cemetery? Is there a motion in favor of Article 9? Sir, is that you, Ryan? You got the hat on. Ryan Downey. I just couldn't quite tell. Okay, and there's second. Okay, it was Mr. Post, Tim Post. Okay, and is there someone here to speak in favor of, is it Malcolm? Sure. Malcolm Cooper?
Taller than Washington. So there's a very comprehensive report. I'm Malcolm Cooper, and I'm the president of...
Did everybody hear him? No? In the back, they say you can't, so get a little closer and speak.
I'm Malcolm Cooper. I'm the president of the Maple Hills Cemetery. Everybody hear that? And we're in our 254th year of existence. The burial before the revolution, so we've got lots of history. And it's costing more each year. The details of our requirements are in the town report. We talk about the new shed that we're in the process of building for storing maintenance and our lawnmowers. But on top of that, we've had a very hard time finding ways to mow the cemetery. The commercial mowing crews around town are not really interested in mowing the cemetery because it's a very labor-intense job. So we finally ended up buying our own equipment, and we've paid some local citizens to take the task on. As you can imagine, many stones have to be hand-trimmed carefully with string trimmers. So the money is being used to keep the cemetery looking good. And to fund ongoing repairs. The stones that have been there for 200 plus years tip over due to frost and wear and tear, and they need to be repositioned. So every year we do a group of stones, and we're still in the process of finishing our new building, which is going to be a 250-year building because it's built out of beautiful timbers that were milled from pine trees that were taken down in the cemetery. And it has a slate roof from, I believe, Vermont slate from Pulteney. So the cemetery, and you should be aware, the cemetery is not affiliated with any other organization. It's a standalone organization with a modest endowment, so we very much appreciate the town's help in funding the ongoing activities, and a minor stipend for our sexton and other developments that come up unexpectedly during the year. Please read the report in the town report that we put together to explain what we've done. We appreciate your support, and we hope we don't see you there soon.
So, Article 9 read, shall the voters appropriate the sum of $10,000 to the Maple Hill Cemetery to help in the build of a new equipment building on the grounds of the cemetery? All those in favor of Article 9 signify your approval by saying aye. Aye. And disapproval by saying nay. The ayes have it. Article 9 is passed. Article 10. Shall the voters appropriate the sum of $7,500 to the Dorset Historical Society to support its activities and continued efforts to serve as a cultural resource to our community? Is there a motion in favor of Article 10? Tom Cooper. And this happens every year. Nicole, I can't remember your last name.
Mills.
Nicole Mills. I say hello, Nicole, but I don't always
It's okay, good.
use the surname. Okay. Anyway, is there discussion on Article 10? Is there someone here to speak? Chad Smith.
I'm Chad Smith. I'm on the board of the Historical
Can
Society.
people hear him?
No.
You have to get closer or something.
How's that? A little better? Okay. I'm Chad Smith. I'm a relatively new member of the Historical Society. My late father, Charles S. Smith, was one of the incorporators of the Historical Society in 1963. That being said, we're very appreciative of the appropriation that we do get from the town, and throughout the year, we had many events, be it lectures, ice cream social, an holiday open house, lectures, and other events throughout the year. So we appreciate the support we get from the town. Thank you.
Is there further discussion on this? Ruth, were you discussing something or no? Okay, you and Michelle, okay. Then, if there is no further discussion, shall the voters appropriate the sum of $7,500 to the Dorset Historical Society to support its activities and continued efforts to serve as a cultural resource to our community? All those in favor of Article 10 signify your approval by saying aye. Aye. Your disapproval by saying nay. The ayes have it. Article 10 is passed. Okay. Article 11. Shall the voters approve the exemption of property taxes for the Wilson House of East Dorset for a period of 5 years? That's from 2026 to 2030. It says tax map 25, block 21, lot 005, 378 Village Street. It's a building and a half an acre. So it's just that building. It's not the Griffith House, just that building. Is there a motion in favor of Article 11? Chris Brooks. And a second, Chad Smith. Okay. Way to get into the town report. Put you there. For next year. Is there discussion? Anyone here for the Wilson House? Come forward, ma'am. And say your name. And where are you from? Sunderland. So is there any objection to, and your name, please?
Kim Norman.
Kim Norman. Is there any objection to Kim speaking to this meeting? There being none, please proceed.
Thank you so much. I'm Kim Norman. I'm the director of the Wilson House of East Dorset, and I'm happy to be here on behalf of our board of directors, our staff, our volunteers to speak on this issue. You might know that we're a 174-year-old hotel, and most notable because one extremely influential native Vermonter was born in the hotel. Bill W., as he was known through his life, otherwise known as William Griffith Wilson, was the co-founder of Alcoholics Anonymous and the author of the 12 Steps of Recovery. In 1988, the property was officially allocated to a nonprofit organization, which is now in its 38th year. And in 1991, it was included in the National Register of Historic Places. Each year, we have thousands of visitors from all over the world, and they come to pay their respects to the place where Bill was born, and they also visit the East Dorset Cemetery, where he was laid to rest after he died in 1971. We provide year-round workshops, retreats, seminars, and other kinds of events for people in all kinds of 12-step recovery programs. And we also offer an open community meeting site. We provide free or very low-cost services to multiple nonprofits and groups. We host a community supper every Friday night. You're all welcome. It's by donation. And in fact, our operations are primarily funded by donations. And we want to thank you, the townspeople, for continuing to support us by allowing us to be exempt from property taxes. We also want to invite you to come have a free cup of coffee anytime and get a tour of the site. And again, thank you so much for your time.
Is there any further discussion on Article 11? There being none, shall the voters approve the exemption of property taxes for the Wilson House of East Dorset for a period of 5 years, 2026 to 2030? And it's at 378 Village Street, and it's a building and half an acre. All those in favor of Article 11 signify your approval by saying aye. Aye. Or disapproval by saying nay.
Nay.
The ayes have it. Article 11 is passed. In 1989, I happened to be involved in the incorporation of the Wilson House of East Dorset, and I remember submitting the name Wilson House, and it was rejected by the Secretary of State because there was another one in the state called the Wilson House. So I said, how about the Wilson House of East Dorset? Ta-da! And that's why it's the Wilson House of East Dorset. Article 12. Shall the town of Dorset authorize the use of Australian ballot for voting for public questions related to the potential development or conveyance of the town-owned Raptor Lane property as permitted by 17 VSA Section 2680D, when such questions are otherwise authorized by law? Is there a motion in favor of Article 12? Patricia Heaton, and is there a second? Carter Rossi, second. Is there discussion on Article 12? Okay, I'm
Nobody?
hearing
Oh, and
none. I just said the question. Is there? Oh, Ruth Stewart.
It's Ruth Stewart. Can somebody give us an explanation of why this is being warned, please?
It's being warned first just because 5% of the checklist got a petition together.
Okay.
So, you can hear me there. If the town is going to transfer or convey property, by statute, the town would have two options. One would be a vote. The second would be that we would authorize the sale and then wait and see if the residents wanted to petition against the sale of that property. The next article that's being warned is, we did receive a petition that said that when we do transfer property, people would like to vote on it rather than us just doing it and then petitioning again. So we put that on the ballot, but because we want to do it by Australian ballot, typically those votes would be held on the floor like tonight. But of course, that limits the amount of people that participate. So if we do convey land and hold a vote, we would like as many residents as possible to be able to weigh in, and we would do that by Australian ballot. So unless we specifically authorize the use of Australian ballot for this reason, we would have to do it by floor vote rather than Australian ballot. So it's literally just a legal technicality so that we can then vote by Australian ballot.
So is Article 13 on Australian ballot as well? It doesn't say it is.
No, but that is a vote to vote. So when we would convey property, that was in the petition that we received. So all it's saying is that if the town has two choices, the first would be to hold a vote if we are going to convey property. The second one would be to simply convey the property and wait for the petition to come in and then hold a vote if a petition does come in. So the second one is saying that rather, of those two options, we are going to vote instead of just saying that we will do it and wait for a petition, because we already received the petition. So together the two will mean that if we are to transfer property on Raptor Lane for any reason, that we will hold a vote by Australian ballot. But we need the first one to have the second one occur. But we are not at this time conveying any property. Does that, I know it's confusing, but.
Got that? There'll be a test. No, it is a statute that I get into before. So, like, let's say if there's a property comes up for tax sale and it's purchased by the town, if there's no one else, bid, if they want to sell it, there has to either be a vote or a notice in the paper, and if 30 days goes by and 5% of the checklist does not object, they can go ahead. This is saying we're always going to use the first option and actually have a vote. For the property. So, I'm going to repeat Article 12, unless there's some discussion. Okay. Shall the town of Dorset authorize the use of Australian ballot voting for public questions related to the potential development or conveyance of the town-owned Raptor Lane property as permitted by 17 VSA Section 2680D when such questions are otherwise authorized by law? All those in favor of Article 12 indicate your approval by saying aye. Aye. Your disapproval by saying nay.
Nay.
The ayes have it. Article 12 is passed. Article 13. Shall voter approval be required before the select board may lease, sell, or convey, or otherwise dispose of any interest in the town-owned land on Raptor Lane? Is there a motion in favor of Article 13? I can't see by Patricia Heaton and behind Carter. I'm sorry. There it was. Okay. I didn't think it was Carter. I thought it was something else. No, it's Chip Watson. He doesn't look. It's Chip Watson. He doesn't look like Carter Lawson. It was Chip Watson. It was Chip Watson. Right. Willard Watson. Third. Right. Is there discussion about Article 13? Hearing none.
I just have a question.
If you wait, if you can go to the mic. Yes, you do.
Gay Squire, I just have a question. Is this specifically just related to Raptor Lane? I don't know if the town owns other property that it might want to convey at some point, but if that's the case,
This particular ballot only deals with the property on Raptor Lane.
so if there's other land at some point that comes up, we would go through this?
Well, one of two options. They could put a notice in the paper, and then if 5% of the checklist does not object, they could go ahead and sell it. But these two motions together are saying, for this property, we're not going to do that. We're going to put it to a vote. Okay? But it just involves Raptor Lane, this one. John Cummings.
Trying to get my head around all this. Hypothetical.
Who's speaking to?
John Cummins, sorry. Hypothetical. The study on Raptor Lane goes on for 3-4 years, gradually. Somebody approaches the town and wants a little acre just above, out of the way, nothing to do with the development. They want us to pay $1 million to put a senior health rehabilitation thing. Do we have to have a town vote for that?
Yes, because it says dispose of any interest.
That's crazy.
But, John, in the other hand,
Let me just,
in the other hand, if you didn't have this vote, you'd still have to put it in the paper for at least 30 days, and if 5% of the checklist did not oppose, but this would, as far as the Raptor Lane, said there'd have to be a vote.
it's only crazy because we've hired these fine people to work day and night at 15 cents an hour to run our town while we're home watching Netflix. And we can't trust them to make a decision of that nature. I think it's crazy.
It's just me.
Is there further discussion? Article 13. Shall voter approval be required before the select board may lease, sell, convey, or otherwise dispose of any interest in the town-owned land on Raptor Lane? All those in favor of Article 13 signify your approval by saying aye. Aye. Your disapproval by saying nay.
Nay.
The ayes have it. Article 13 is passed. Article 14 is, it's not really a vote, it's to transact any other business to properly come before this meeting. There's a nice lady over here from out of town who wanted to speak on neighbor to neighbor, which I guess is part of the regular budget now. But why don't, this would be a time, and she's not from these parts. So is it okay if her first name is Danielle? If she speaks?
Yeah, I don't plan
No, she's first.
Well, it relates to her.
It relates to her?
Well, it relates to the appropriations, you know, why are some printed and why are some included in the budget?
Okay, I'm gonna have Rob speak to that first of why. Ruth's question is, why are some of them on the ballot now and some are just included in the budget? So before we get to that, just, Rob, could you explain that?
There's a lot of newbies here.
So if you recall, Ruth, we used to have a floor vote on every
I
like
know, but there's a lot of
$100 item.
newbies here, so they don't
So,
know.
yeah, so traditionally, all the nonprofit funding was appropriated via floor vote at the meeting. A lot of similar items for community groups that were asking for $100 to $500. The board, 2 or 3 years ago, put a benchmark on the level of funding required to be in the floor vote. So that's why there's a difference between the two.
Would you like to come forward now? No one objected to her speaking. Okay.
Thank you. My name is Danielle, and I'm the director of Neighbors
For the minutes, your last name?
Moran. I'm the director at Neighbor to Neighbor. We've been serving the North Shire since 2004 by assisting the elderly and disabled who are homebound by giving them rides to doctors and all essential appointments throughout the community. Also pharmacy, groceries, anything they need. We also host monthly social events. And this is a no-cost service to your community, so anybody can come. There's no waiting list. We're usually, somebody's up there within 24 hours to sign them up. And I just wanted to thank the town of Dorset for all of your previous support. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, under other business, this is where it wasn't really germane to everything else. Ellen Maloney, I know, approached me earlier and wanted to speak.
Hello, I'm Ellen Maloney. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. And, yeah, I do have a loud voice. I'm here for speaking on behalf of the Energy Committee, the Dorset Energy Committee. We do have here some information on how the rebates that are available currently through Efficiency Vermont and Green Mountain Power. And we have paperwork that shows you what the rebates are. Please come take some. There's also available, thanks to Cornerstone, which was the old NeighborWorks, but it's gone through a transmogrification version, they're offering energy audits, if you sign up today or tomorrow, energy audits for $150 each. That's an audit of your home. That is a really, really a good deal. And an energy audit can save you a lot more than $150 if you have one done. And I would be happy to give more details, but stop over by the wall there where we have a table. And I would also call your attention, Jim Hand is too shy. Over there we have balcony solar. Perhaps some of you have read about balcony solar. It's used in many European countries to increase the amount of electricity that's available to folks. In particular, this is something that you can do without going through the Public Service Department, or Public Service Board, isn't it? And it's plugging. Jim can tell you a lot more about it, but you can just plug it into a wall socket, and you've got your own solar power. So it's really interesting, but ask Jim, because I am not as smart as he is. Thank you.
Thank you. Sandy, is this your last stop, or is this your next to last stop?
This is my last stop for tonight.
Okay, then we're going to, just because he said one thing before, you'll be our finale then. Frank Parent's dad wanted to speak. Frank Parent's parent. And I don't think he's from these parts either. There's no objection to Frank's dad. Okay. You're taller than Ellen.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. My name is David Parent. I'm from I live at 91 Putter Drive in Wallingford, Connecticut. I am a 1961 graduate of Brown University with a degree in political science. And I've taken that degree seriously, and I've been in public service all my life. As a matter of fact, I'm also on the voting board here. I'll be working with Frank tomorrow. One of the things when in political science they started talking about direct democracies, and they mentioned the Vermont town meeting. I always wondered about that. What did they do? And then last year it dawned on me, wait a minute, I have a son who's on the select board. So I called him up and I said, I'd like to come up to the meeting. He said, fine, come on up. And again, and I had a wonderful time. I learned a lot. I mean, when you talk about direct democracy, it's direct. Notice tonight, select people didn't say anything, to answer a few questions. The motions were made by all of you. We had this moderator let the discussion, let you do it. You all had a chance to vote directly. We did have the ayes. We even had the nays. And we had some other discussions. But that's democracy in action. That's you. That you're making, and you know, democracy is having a little bit of a tough time right now. But you actually make it work. The other thing I found after last year's meeting, talked to a lot of people, and it became very evident that if anybody in this town wants to participate in government, or a government-sponsored agency, Dorset can pitch in. They have somebody, they have their boards, they have their interest, and I think this is wonderful. And Dorset I've been coming up to Dorset for about 20 years now, and it's a wonderful town. You should all be proud of yourself. And with that said, I'm very pleased and honored to be here tonight, and I was very pleased and honored that you gave me the opportunity to speak. Thank you very much.
And now we'd like to hear from our state representative. Tell us all these doings about the educational bill. And
Mind if I stand facing everybody, not my back?
sure. No problem.
Okay. Well, I've been here.
And if you look in your town report, she's just on the inside.
So, I started tonight in Landgrove, which was very exciting.
Can you all hear her?
No. Oh, I started tonight in Landgrove, which was very exciting because I presented a resolution along with Chris Morrow from Weston to Ben Ogden's family, and it was quite exciting. We're wrapping it up here.
Say who Ben Ogden was.
Oh, Ben Ogden is the Landgrove Olympian who got 2 silver medals in 2026. I'm very honored to be serving in the House as your representative, and I wish there was a lot of exciting news to share. Unfortunately, there is not. Education, housing, energy, transportation, they're all suffering. We were lucky this past year, we broke the supermajority in the House, but the parties are still lopsided when it comes to committee time, so it's really hard to get a bill pressed through the committees. But we're very fortunate that we have Representative Rob Hunter, who serves on the Education House Committee, and Senator Seth Bongars from Manchester, who is the head of the Senate Education Committee, because they're really, really fighting hard for our education status here in our region. I serve on government operations and military affairs, which is right up my alley after serving as your town clerk for 21 years, and in my husband's military background. So this past year, we were very fortunate that after 22 years of a bill being on the wall, we no longer tax military retirement in the state of Vermont. I don't have anything other to say. Transportation is really struggling. It's great that we're doing the energy with our EV vehicles, but it's unfortunately hitting the budget, the transportation committee quite hard. They only were able to pave 100 miles of road this year, projecting to pave 140 next year. They had to cut $7.5 million out back in December, and a couple weeks ago they had to cut another 1.5 million out of their budget. So they're really finding some strains. There is a proposal to take the purchase and use tax that was originally part of the transportation and got put into education. They're going to put it back into transportation because it gets 5 times its investment from the federal government. So that $1.9 million has a potential of being 450 in twofold to help pay and put money back into the state transportation and then pass on to towns. So other than that, the Environment Committee is struggling. It ends. They've got a couple controversial bills, one bringing back cougars, and the other no longer posting your land with yellow placards every year. They're going to try to go to 2 years, and now there's a proposal to paint your yard on all your trees purple with a purple stripe, 1 inch by 8 inch on your boundary lines, which I can't imagine what the landscape of Vermont will look like with purple stripes on all of our trees. But that's the type of stuff that gets presented before us. I never realized until I was there that it costs roughly $1,000 to $1,500 for a bill to be drafted and then presented to the committee. This 2-year biennium, we're up over 920 bills. That's $900,000 that we've spent on crafting bills that maybe 25 or 30 will get passed before the end of June, or end of May. So it's, like I said, I wish I had exciting news. I love what I'm doing. I'm not quiet, and I've testified in some of the other committees as well, fighting for what's right for our constituents here in Southern Vermont. So I have to go back.
Can you tell us anything about the status of Burton, Long Trail, Stratton Mountain School, and the education?
Well, unfortunately, the education committee came to a deadlock last week. The House committee came to a deadlock. There are several people on that committee that do not want independent schools. They don't want school choice. So they're at a complete deadlock. The governor has promised that we will not adjourn until we have some sort of education plan on the table before we finish up. So I really have nothing, like I said, nothing really exciting to share. Like I said, it's great that Rob and Seth are on those committees because it won't go unnoticed, and we'll see what happens. Thank you.
Does anybody have a question right now for Sandy, or I'm sure she'll be available just afterwards too? We're still under other business. Did anybody else have other business? Otherwise, Ruth Stewart had other business.
Yes, it's Ruth Stewart. I must say that it wasn't until I basically walked into this meeting that I found out that there were multiple candidates for our select board. I have no idea who the 2 people, other than the 2 incumbents, are who have thrown their hat in the ring.
We did have them stand earlier.
Yeah, whoa! What do we
They're
know
both-
about them?
They're both present. They're not supposed to politic
I
in
understand
this
that.
meeting, but Carter and Chris, I'm sure will answer any questions for anybody, as will Henry and Jim.
Right, but I'm just dismayed that there has been no public information disseminated before tonight regarding these particular individuals. So at least I haven't seen it.
The Manchester Journal, I think,
No, Manchester Journal said nothing on it.
GNAT, I think they had all 4 candidates
Okay,
on
but-
GNAT.
Yeah, right. That's just my personal feeling that I'd like to know who I have the potential of voting
Okay,
for.
I'm sure that Carter and Chris and Jim and Henry would be happy to discuss.
Oh, I know Jim and Henry.
I will entertain a motion to recess this meeting until tomorrow at 7 when we'll be voting by Australia ballot. Is there a motion? David McEnany. And Will Rucker, seconded. All those in favor of the motion to recess, signify your approval by saying aye. Aye. Disapproval by saying nay. We are out of here. Thank you very much.